What if the stories you thought were just fairy tales were real? Hidden in the shadows of time, waiting to be discovered. Today, we open one such tale. Get ready. This story will stay with you.
But some stories don't stay buried forever.
They said the past stays buried. But that morning, something called Emma upstairs. Her feet creaked over old floorboards, her eyes scanning shadows shaped by time. And there it was, a trunk untouched for generations. Inside, a letter waited.
Inside the dust and silence, history had something to say.
Her hands trembled as she picked it up, a letter sealed, its paper yellowed and fragile. The ink faded, the words delicate, yet a deep emotion pulsed between the lines. It was addressed to Eleanor, but Emma didn't know anyone by that name.
And with a single touch, the past came rushing back.
The letter transported her to a moment in 1943, a station, a farewell, a love hanging by a thread. Thomas, a soldier with uncertain eyes, whispered promises into Eleanor's ear. The train left, and so did he into the fire of war, but he left his heart behind.
The story couldn't end there. Emma needed to know more.
Emma couldn't sleep. Questions echoed louder than silence. Who were they? What happened? Soon, her room became a map of memories, photos, timelines, names she'd never known. Then she found it. A photo, a date, and a heartbreak buried under decades of dust.
And sometimes, answers live with those who remember.
Professor Alden listened quietly. Then he smiled like someone who knew lost things. Thomas B. Callahan, he murmured. A name from a war that still speaks. There he was, among strangers, but his eyes still searched for Eleanor.
The trail led her across oceans, to where silence speaks loudest.
In France, the wind spoke softly. It carried names, stories, pain. She walked quietly. No need to ask which was his. She felt it. She laid the letter down. You made it home, she whispered, in your own way.
But even graves don't hold all the secrets. Some waited at home.
Back home, something tugged at her curiosity. One loose board, one secret waiting. Eleanor, with a child, a daughter. A timeline rearranged itself in Emma's mind. That daughter became her grandmother. The letter was never lost. It was waiting.
Now, it was time to let his words be heard at last.
She lit a candle, sat still, and began to read aloud what was never heard. My dearest Eleanor, it began, if you're reading this, I didn't make it home. The words became tears, and the silence between them, peace.
In the quiet after, healing begins, but the memory remains.
Time doesn't erase. It softens. It teaches. And sometimes, it forgives. She saw them now, not just as names, but as love once real and raw. The letter stayed with her, not as sorrow, but as legacy.
And with the past embraced, the future could finally breathe.
The attic felt lighter, warmer, as if something had been set free. Emma didn't just find a letter. She found her roots, her story. What stories sleep in your attic, waiting to be read? And so, our story comes to an end. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time, wonder, and imagination. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Until next time, stay curious and keep dreaming.